The alarm screamed through the research station as Megan Torres sprinted down the corridor, her boots hammering against metal grating. 21 years of waiting, of searching, of refusing to believe the lies they told her about his death, and now the vault was open. "Megan, stop!" Director Phillips shouted behind her, but she didn't slow down. The emergency lights painted everything red, and somewhere deep in the facility something ancient was waking up. She slid through the doorway just as it began to seal, her shoulder slamming into the frame. The vault stretched before her, impossibly vast for something buried 3 miles beneath the lunar surface. Her father's handwriting covered every wall, equations and diagrams that made her head spin even with her doctorate in xenotechnology. The central pedestal pulsed with blue light, and there it was. The device her father died protecting, the secret that cost him everything. "You have no idea what you've done," Phillips gasped, finally catching up. His face was pale, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cold. "I know exactly what I've done," Megan said, reaching for the crystalline sphere. "I found the truth." The moment her fingers touched it, the world exploded into light and sound. Images flooded her mind, memories that weren't hers, knowledge that shouldn't exist. She saw Earth from orbit, saw the fleet arriving, saw the choice her father made. "He didn't die in an accident," she whispered. "He made first contact." The sphere lifted from the pedestal, responding to her touch, and suddenly every screen in the facility blazed to life. Star charts, coordinates, a message repeating in 17 languages, human and otherwise. Phillips grabbed her arm. "The Council will execute you for this. They've kept this buried for 2 decades for a reason." "Because they're cowards," Megan said, watching the data stream across the monitors. "Because when the Satan offered us the stars, offered us technology that could save billions, the Council chose isolation, chose to hide and wait and hope they'd forget about us. They wanted to conquer us. They wanted to recruit us," Megan corrected, finally understanding her father's notes. "There's a war coming. Something worse than the Ceton. Something that devours entire galaxies. Dad figured it out. That's why they killed him. That's why they've been lying to humanity for 20 years. The facility shook. Not an earthquake. Something bigger." Phillips' communicator crackled. "Sir, we have multiple contacts breaking lunar orbit. They're not ours. They're not anyone's. Signatures match nothing in our database." Megan looked at the sphere in her hands, felt its warmth spreading through her fingers. Her father's last message played in her mind, his voice clear after all these years. "When you find this, Meg, don't hesitate. Don't doubt. Humanity's time for hiding is over. Show them what we can really do." She smiled, even as the station trembled and alarms wailed. "Director Phillips," she said calmly, "you might want to evacuate the facility, because I'm about to accept my father's invitation on behalf of the entire human race." The sphere began to sing. The sphere's song tore through reality itself. Megan felt her consciousness expand, felt connections forming to every human mind on Luna, then Earth, then the scattered colonies throughout the solar system. 4 billion voices gasped in unison as they saw what she saw. The war wasn't coming. It was already here. Phillips collapsed, his hands clutching his head. Around them, the vault's walls shimmered and transformed, ancient technology recognizing a worthy heir. Holographic displays erupted everywhere, showing battles fought across dimensions humanity couldn't perceive, casualties measured in extinct civilizations. "Shut it down!" Phillips screamed, blood trickling from his nose. "You're broadcasting our location to everything out there." "They already know where we are," Megan said, her voice doubled, echoed by something vast and patient. "They've always known. The Sortong have been standing guard over our system for 21 years, waiting for us to grow up, waiting for someone to finally open the door. The contacts breaking orbit weren't invaders. They were the honor guard." Megan's vision split between the vault and somewhere else, somewhere high above Luna's surface. She saw them now, the Saturn vessels uncloaking, their hulls like flowing mercury, their weapon systems that made Earth's entire nuclear arsenal look like firecrackers. 12 dreadnoughts holding position, and they were the smallest ships present. The flagship was the size of Earth's moon. Megan Torres, a voice spoke directly into her mind, and into the minds of every human alive. Daughter of Henry Torres, first human to prove your species worthy of the ancient compact. We have waited long enough. The Devourers have consumed the Andrax cluster. 300 billion souls gone in 7 days. They are 62 light years from your homeworld and accelerating. Phillips was sobbing now. We can't fight that. We're not ready. Your father knew we weren't ready. He knew we'd never be ready if we kept hiding, Megan said. The sphere was changing her, rewriting her genetic code, uploading weapons specifications and tactical databases directly into her neurons. It hurt worse than anything she'd ever felt, and she laughed through the pain because finally it all made sense. Her father hadn't died. He'd transcended. Access code Torres 77 Omega, she said aloud, and the lunar surface above them began to crack open. Not destruction, but revelation. The research station had never been about research. It was a shell, a disguise, a test. Beneath Luna's crust, the shipyards awakened. Philip stared at the monitors as centuries-old construction bays roared to life, as the frameworks of vessels too large to comprehend began their final assembly sequences. This is impossible. We don't have the resources, the knowledge, the infrastructure. We do now, Megan said, and sent the activation codes rippling through human space. On Earth, in the asteroid belt, in orbit around Jupiter's moons, installations that had pretended to be mining operations or science stations dropped their disguises. Her father had spent 5 years before his death, seeding humanity's territory with Holtong's technology, hiding it in plain sight, waiting for the day someone would inherit his mission. The sphere pulsed once more, and Megan understood what it wanted, what it needed. I'm calling for volunteers, she announced, to the 4 billion minds still connected to hers. The Ceton will provide the ships, the weapons, the training, but they need human crews. They need our chaos, our unpredictability, our absolute refusal to accept extinction. Phillips grabbed her shoulders. You're sentencing millions to death. The Council will never allow this. The Council just got voted out, Megan said, watching the data streams. Across Earth, across every human settlement, people were making their choice. Not governments, not politicians. Individual humans deciding their own fate. 17 million volunteers in the first 30 seconds. 40 million now. The Sautorn said they need 100 million crew members to fully staff the human battle group. We'll hit that number in 4 minutes, the alien voice confirmed. Phillips released her, staggering backward. Your father destroyed everything. Our peace, our isolation, our safety. Our cage, Megan corrected. He destroyed our cage. The first volunteers were already being teleported to the shipyards, already being integrated with neural interfaces, already learning how to think at the speed of light and fight at the speed of thought. Megan felt their excitement, their terror. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. The Devourers would learn what that meant soon enough. The transformation took 6 hours. Megan watched from the flagship's bridge as ordinary humans became something more, something the galaxy had never seen before. The SOAR-10 had fought the Devourers for 10,000 years with discipline and precision. Humanity was about to teach them a new way. Captain Ryan Mitchell was first. Through the neural integration, a former fighter pilot from New Beijing who'd been grounded after losing his legs in a training accident. The sword-torn regeneration tanks gave him new limbs and reflexes that could process combat data faster than any baseline human. He stood on the bridge now, his eyes glowing faintly blue, grinning like a maniac. Ma'am, I can see everything, he said. Every ship, every weapon system, every tactical possibility. It's beautiful. It's necessary, Megan replied, still adjusting to her own enhancements. The sphere had chosen her as overall coordinator, the bridge between human instinct and Ceton strategy. She could feel the fleet now, all 700 warships crewed by humans who'd been civilians yesterday. How long until we're combat ready? The Ceton admiral materialized beside her, his form shifting between solid and energy. Your people learn faster than any species we've encountered. 3 days until basic proficiency, 3 weeks until you can fight effectively. The Devourers will be here in 18 days, Megan said. Then we hold the line until reinforcements arrive. Or we take the fight to them, Mitchell suggested, and Megan saw the tactical overlay he was proposing. Risky? Insane? Exactly the kind of plan no sane military would consider. Exactly the kind of plan that might work. The Devourers expect us to defend, she said slowly, seeing the possibilities. They've consumed 600 civilizations, and every single one waited behind their fortifications and died anyway. What if we don't wait? The Admiral's form flickered. You've been military grade for 6 hours, and you want to launch an offensive against an enemy that outnumbers you 10,000 to 1? They outnumber the Sea-Tone 10,000 to 1, Megan corrected. They've never fought humans before. Down in the training simulators, volunteers were already exceeding projected performance curves. A Marine from Detroit named Angela Price had figured out how to override safety limiters on the plasma rifles, tripling their fire rate. An engineer from Mumbai, called Raj Kapoor, had redesigned the shield harmonics to create offensive pulse waves. And there were 90 million others just like them, adapting and improvising and breaking every rule the Sorton had spent millennia perfecting. We're not asking permission, Mitchell said, and Megan felt the agreement rippling through the fleet. We're human. We don't know how to wait for death. The Admiral studied them both for a long moment. Henry Torres said the same thing. He said, "Humanity's greatest strength was your inability to accept the inevitable." Did it get him killed? Megan asked. It got him immortalized. His consciousness exists in every Katon vessel now, guiding our tactics, teaching us to think like you think. He is the reason we came to Earth, the reason we waited. The Admiral's form solidified into something almost human. Very well. You have 3 days to plan your offensive, but know this. If you fail, the Devourers will follow your retreat vector directly to Earth. You will have doomed your homeworld. Then we won't fail, Megan said simply. The next 72 hours were chaos. Human crews learned to pilot vessels the size of cities, learned to coordinate through neural links that connected thousands of minds into single tactical units. They trained in simulations of battles from Sheeton history, then immediately broke every established doctrine to find better solutions. Commander Lisa Park from the Seoul Defense Force figured out how to weaponize the FTL drives themselves, turning jump calculations into kinetic bombardment patterns. A civilian scientist named Vincent Cole discovered that human brain chemistry could interface with waiting situations to devour couldn't counter. And Megan, sitting at the center of it all, felt her father's presence growing stronger. The sphere had been his gift, his legacy, his final lesson. He'd known she would find it, known she would make the choice he'd made 21 years ago. On the 3rd day, she stood before the assembled fleet commanders, 100 men and women who'd been teachers and miners and artists, and now commanded firepower that could crack planets. The Devourers consume everything they touch, she said. They've erased civilizations that existed for millions of years. They think we're just another meal, another handful of primitives who'll die screaming in the dark. She brought up the tactical display, showing the Andrax cluster, still burning from the Devourer assault. We're going to hit them while they're feeding. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten Earth. We're going to teach the entire galaxy that humanity doesn't surrender, doesn't retreat, and definitely doesn't die quietly. Mitchell raised his fist. For Henry Torres! The cry echoed through the fleet. For Henry Torres! For Earth! For humanity! The ships began to move, forming up in attack patterns that had never existed before. The Sorton Admiral watched them go, and for the first time in 10,000 years he felt something he'd forgotten. Hope. The jump to the Andrax cluster took 11 hours through dimensions that human minds weren't designed to perceive. Megan spent that time coordinating with her father's ghost, feeling his consciousness guide her through tactical scenarios that the Soltone had deemed impossible. They emerged into hell. The Devourers had turned 3-star systems into feeding grounds. Megan watched through 1,000 sensors as the enemy fleet stripped entire planets down to their cores, converting matter directly into more ships, more weapons, more hunger. The scanners counted 60,000 Devourer vessels, each one a nightmare of organic technology and predatory intelligence. "They've detected us," Mitchell reported, his voice steady despite the odds. "Forming defensive perimeter." "Ma'am, they're not running. They're welcoming us." "Good," Megan said. "Let them think we're prey." The Devourer command structure broadcast on all frequencies, a psychic scream that tried to induce paralysis and despair. Most species froze when they heard it, their survival instincts overwhelming military training. They, Hoton, had developed mental shields over millennia to resist. Humans just got angry. "All ships, execute pattern Torres Alpha," Megan ordered, and the fleet scattered in 17 different directions simultaneously. The Devourers had never seen coordination like this. Individual vessels acting with complete autonomy while maintaining perfect tactical synchronization. It looked like chaos. It was precision. Angela Price's battle group hit first, screaming in from above the orbital plane with shields configured for maximum ramming speed. The Devourers moved to intercept, expecting a standard engagement. Instead, Price's ships punched through their formation and kept going, weapons cold, shields blazing. "They think we're retreating," Price laughed over the command channel. "Activating Cole Protocol now." The human vessels turned inside out. Vincent Cole's discovery had been simple but devastating. Piton technology could briefly exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and human neural patterns could maintain coherence through the transition. The Devourers watched their targets vanish from normal space, then screamed as those same ships materialized inside their formation, already firing. The killing began. Raj Kapoor's shield modifications turned defensive systems into explosive pulses that tore through Devourer hulls like tissue paper. Lisa Park's weaponized FTL calculations created gravitational shears that ripped entire squadrons apart. And everywhere, human crews fought with a fury that shocked even the Poidom observers. "Enemy reinforcements jumping in," Mitchell warned. "Make that 30,000 additional contacts. They're pulling forces from the feeding zones." "Perfect," Megan said, watching the Devourers abandon their planetary consumption to deal with the human threat. "All reserve units, begin planetary evacuation. We've got maybe 2 million survivors scattered across those worlds. Pull them out." The Ceton transports dropped from stealth, using the battle as cover to reach the refugee camps. The Devourers realized too late what the humans had actually come for. This wasn't a suicide attack. It was a rescue operation disguised as an assault. The enemy fleet pivoted, trying to intercept the transports. Mitchell's battle group materialized directly in their path. "You want them?" he broadcast on open channels. "Come through us first." The Devourers accepted the invitation. Mitchell's ships fought like cornered wolves, using every dirty trick humans had invented in 10,000 years of warfare. They fired from behind asteroid cover, used debris fields as improvised minefields, rammed damaged vessels into enemy formations as kinetic missiles. When conventional weapons ran dry, they used their ships themselves as weapons. The battlecruiser Defiance, her crew already evacuated, crashed into a Devourer dreadnought at 0.7 light speed. The explosion vaporized both vessels and 12 others caught in the blast radius. "Transport's clear," the evacuation coordinator reported. 2.3 million rescued. Minimal casualties. "All units phased withdrawal," Megan ordered. "Pattern Torres Beta. Make them chase us." The human fleet began its retreat, but not in panic. Each vessel fell back through predetermined coordinates, laying spatial mines and gravitational traps, turning their withdrawal into a moving kill zone. The Devourers pursued, their numerical advantage meaning nothing in the dimensional maze the humans had created. "They're adapting," Mitchell warned, "learning our patterns. Then we change the patterns," Megan said, and felt her father's presence surge through the neural network. His consciousness had been studying the Devourers for 21 years, learning their weaknesses, finding the cracks in their collective intelligence. She saw it now. The flaw. "All ships, full stop," she commanded. "Reverse thrust. We're going back in." The fleet commanders hesitated for exactly half a second, then obeyed. 700 human warships spun on their axes and charged directly into the pursuing Devourer swarm. The enemy tried to scatter, tried to adapt, but they'd committed too heavily to the chase. They were packed too tight, moving too fast, and the humans knew exactly where they'd be. "Fire everything," Megan said quietly. The combined firepower of the human fleet, concentrated into a single devastating volley, punched through the heart of the Devourer formation. Dimensional torpedoes created cascade failures in their organic hulls. Plasma batteries melted through armor that had resisted Saltone weapons for centuries. And the gravitational shears Park had pioneered tore the survivors into component atoms. 17,000 Devourer vessels died in 47 seconds. The rest broke formation and ran. On the bridge, nobody celebrated. They'd won a battle, rescued millions, and proved humanity could fight. But the war was just beginning, and somewhere in the dark between stars, the main Devourer fleet was still coming for Earth. Megan looked at the casualty reports. 43 ships lost, 12,000 dead. 12,000 volunteers who'd been civilians 4 days ago. "Get us home," she said. "We need to prepare for the real fight." The fleet jumped to FTL, leaving the Andrax cluster burning behind them. Earth's orbit had transformed into a fortress. Megan returned to find construction on a scale that defied comprehension. The moon-sized two-ton flagship had opened its manufacturing core, and every hour it produced weapons platforms that humanity couldn't have built in a century. But it wasn't enough. 15 days until the Devourers arrive, Admiral Fletcher announced. The old military command structure had dissolved, replaced by a hybrid system where human instinct merged with whole-tone tactical processing. Fletcher, a former submarine commander from the Atlantic Fleet, now coordinated Earth's defensive grid. Intel says they're coming with everything. 400,000 vessels minimum. Megan studied the projections. Even with the victories at Andrax, even with the rescued civilians now being integrated into the war effort, the numbers were brutal. Humanity had maybe 70,000 ships combat ready. The Soton reinforcements wouldn't arrive for another month. "We can't win a straight fight," she said. "Then we don't fight straight," answered a voice she never expected to hear again. The hologram materialized in the center of the command deck, and Megan's breath caught. Her father looked exactly as she remembered, except his eyes held the weight of 21 years spent as living data, existing across 1,000 systems simultaneously. "Dad," she whispered. "Hey, Meg," Henry Torres said, smiling. "Proud of you doesn't even begin to cover it. But we need to talk strategy, and we need to do it fast." He gestured, and the tactical display exploded into complexity. The Devourers aren't just hungry, they're scared. Every civilization they've consumed, they did it because those civilizations discovered something the Devourers couldn't allow to spread. "What discovery?" Fletcher asked. "That reality can be rewritten," Henry said. "The Devonshires evolved to exploit those laws. But humans, we've always been good at breaking rules we don't like." The sphere I left for Megan wasn't just a communication device. It's a key to something the Devourers thought they'd destroyed 1,000,000 years ago. He brought up an image of a structure, geometric impossibility wrapped in mathematics, that made Megan's enhanced brain hurt to process. The architects built this before they transcended physical existence. It's a reality engine. It doesn't just manipulate matter and energy. It rewrites the fundamental constants of the universe within a localized field. "And there's one buried in Earth's core." The command deck went silent. "You're saying we can change the rules of engagement," Mitchell said slowly. "Make it so the Devourer's advantages don't work." "Better," Henry said. "We can make it so they can't exist at all in the altered space. But activating it requires a sacrifice. The engine needs a consciousness to guide it, to maintain the alterations. Someone has to become part of the machine." He looked directly at Megan. "That's why they killed me. I figured it out, started the activation sequence. The Council stopped me before I could complete it, afraid of what changing reality might do. They didn't understand that doing nothing meant extinction." "How do we activate it now?" Megan asked, already knowing the answer, already feeling the sphere pulse warm against her chest where it had fused to her sternum during the integration. "You're already connected," Henry confirmed. "The sphere bonded to you because you're my daughter, because our neural patterns are similar enough that you can pick up where I left off." "But Meg, once you start, There's no coming back. You'll exist as pure consciousness, maintaining the altered reality field forever. How large a field? Fletcher demanded. Solar system wide, maybe larger, depending on how much power we feed it. The Devourers come here. They'll be fighting in a universe where their biology doesn't function, where their weapons can't fire, where the physical laws they evolved to exploit simply don't apply anymore. And we'll be fighting in that same altered reality, Megan said. We'll need to adapt too. Humans adapt faster than any species in existence, Henry said. That's why the architects left the engine here. They were waiting for a species crazy enough to use it. Angela Price stepped forward. Ma'am, if you're going into that machine, we need to make sure the Devourers actually come to Earth. If they sense something wrong, they might bypass us entirely, consume the outer colonies instead. Then we bait them, Mitchell said. Make them think Earth is vulnerable. Make them commit everything to the attack. Megan looked around the command deck, saw the faces of men and women who'd volunteered to fight impossible odds, who'd charged into hell at Andrax without hesitation. Her father's ghost watched her with pride and sorrow. All right, she said. Here's what we do. Fletcher, I want the orbital defenses to look impressive but vulnerable. Concentrate everything into obvious formations. Make them think we're following K-Tone doctrine. Misdirection. Fletcher nodded. They'll expect us to defend conventionally. Mitchell, take the fleet out to Jupiter. Stage what looks like a last-ditch evacuation effort. When the Devourers hit Earth's orbital grid, you jump back in and hit them from behind. Classic anvil and hammer, Mitchell grinned. They'll be too focused on the prize to watch their backs. Price, I need you to coordinate ground forces. When I activate the engine, reality is going to get weird. People are going to panic. Keep them calm. Keep them fighting. Yes, ma'am, Price said. What about you? Megan touched the sphere fused to her chest. I'm going to become something new. Something the Devourers never expected to face. She turned to her father's image. Will I be able to communicate once I'm in the engine? You'll be the engine, Henry said gently. You'll be the space between atoms, the force holding reality together in the altered field. You'll feel everything, know everything within your domain. But Meg, you won't be human anymore. Will I remember being human? Always. That's the important part. That's what makes this work. You'll have human creativity, human stubbornness, human refusal to accept defeat, but with the power to reshape existence itself. He smiled. The Devourers are about to learn why the architects chose Earth. Megan took a deep breath. 14 days until the enemy arrived. 14 days to prepare for a battle that would decide whether humanity survived or became just another forgotten meal. Then let's get to work, she said. We've got a war to win and a universe to break. The Devourers arrived early. 470,000 vessels dropped from FTL at the edge of the solar system, and their hunger preceded them like a shockwave. Every human felt it, a psychic pressure that promised consumption, dissolution, the end of everything they were. Megan felt it too, deep beneath Earth's surface, her body already half-merged with the reality engine. The architect's structure pulsed around her, ancient machinery responding to her neural patterns, preparing to remake the laws of physics themselves. They're not waiting, Fletcher reported from orbit, burning straight for Earth at maximum acceleration. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. 6 hours. Megan had needed aid to complete the integration. Mitchell, how long can you delay them? She asked, her voice echoing from 1,000 speakers simultaneously as her consciousness spread through the engine's network. As long as you need, Mitchell replied, and she felt the fleet jump into position. 70,000 human ships materializing directly in the Devourer's path, hopelessly outnumbered, absolutely defiant. The battle began instantly. Mitchell's forces fought like demons, using every trick from Andrax and inventing new ones on the fly. They didn't try to win. They tried to buy time. Ships died by the hundreds, thousands. Megan felt every death, felt the volunteers sacrificing themselves so she could complete the transformation. Angela Price led ground forces in repelling Devourer landing attempts on Mars. Raj Kapoor's engineering teams jury-rigged weapons that shouldn't exist. Lisa Park commanded the final defensive line, her battle group fighting a running retreat toward Earth itself. 4 hours to integration, Megan announced, feeling her human body dissolving, becoming energy, becoming code, becoming the fundamental structure of altered spacetime. Her father's consciousness merged with hers, guiding her through the final stages. "You're doing great, Meg," Henry whispered. "Almost there." The Devourers pushed harder. They sensed something wrong, something changing. Their main fleet abandoned tactics and simply charged, accepting catastrophic losses to reach Earth before whatever humanity was attempting could activate. 3 hours, Megan said, watching through a million sensors as Mitchell's fleet crumbled. He had maybe 10,000 ships left, holding against 500,000. "Dad, I don't know if we have 3 hours. "Then we accelerate," Henry said. "Force the integration. It'll hurt worse than anything you've ever felt, but you'll survive it. Torres women are too stubborn to die." Megan laughed, the sound reverberating through quantum fields. "Do it." The engine surged to full power, and Megan screamed as her consciousness expanded to fill the solar system. She became the space between planets, the gravity holding the sun together, the quantum foam underlying existence itself. She felt every human alive, every ship, every weapon, every desperate hope, and she felt the Devourers, their alien hunger, their ancient fear of species like hers. "Now," she said, and reality broke. The laws of physics within the solar system simply stopped working the way they had for 13 billion years. The Devourers' organic technology evolved for a different universe, began tearing itself apart. Their weapons misfired. Their ships lost cohesion. Their collective intelligence fragmented as the quantum entanglement binding them dissolved. But Megan didn't stop there. She remembered Andrax. Remembered the 12,000 volunteers who died rescuing strangers. She remembered her father's sacrifice, 20 years spent as living data waiting for humanity to be ready. She reached out with her newfound power and remade the rules. Human ships suddenly moved faster, hit harder, healed damage that should have been fatal. The survivors of Mitchell's fleet found themselves wielding weapons that bent space-time, that struck across dimensions, that turned Devourer advantages into catastrophic weaknesses. "Holy hell," Mitchell breathed. "Megan, what did you do?" "Leveled the playing field," she replied, her voice the harmony of stars. "Now finish them." The battle turned into a slaughter. The Devourers tried to retreat, but Megan wouldn't let them. She sealed the FTL routes, trapped them inside her domain, inside the universe she'd created where humanity's chaos and creativity outweighed the Devourers' consumption and hunger. It took 18 hours to destroy them all. 470,000 vessels reduced to atoms scattered across the altered space of Sol system. When it ended, when the last Devourer died screaming in a reality that rejected its existence, Megan felt the Ciaton reinforcement fleet arrive at the edge of her domain. "Megan Torres," the Ciaton admiral transmitted. "What have you become?" "Something new," she answered, feeling the 2 million refugees from Andrax settling into homes on Earth, feeling the volunteers celebrating victory, feeling humanity's future spreading out before her like a vast probability tree, something the Devourers never prepared for, something the galaxy needs. Fletcher's voice came through uncertain. "Can you change back? Can you be human again?" Megan thought about it, felt her distributed consciousness spanning planets and moons, and the vast dark between. She could feel her father beside her, existing in the same transcended state. Proud. "I am human," she said finally. "Just a different kind, and I'll be here, protecting Earth, protecting all of you, for as long as you need me." She felt Mitchell smile. "Then I guess we'd better make it worth protecting." "You already have," Megan said, and meant it. Across the galaxy, other Devourer fleets felt their kindred die, felt the change in Sol system, felt a new power awakening. They began planning new approaches, new strategies. But Megan was waiting, immortal and patient, her father's daughter carrying his legacy forward. Humanity had announced itself to the universe not as victims or supplicants, but as survivors who refused to accept extinction. The stars would learn what that meant. Earth endured, protected by a guardian who'd sacrificed her humanity to save it, who'd unlocked the secret her father left behind and used it to give her species a future. 21 years of waiting had led to this. And Megan Torres, human and more than human, smiled as she watched her people reach for the stars she defended, ready to teach the galaxy what humanity really meant. The war was just beginning, but so was humanity's